A barrage of drones that had been stashed in trucks sneaked into Russia. They were taken close to some of Russia's most strategic air bases. On the 1st of June, these drones, concealed under the roofs of wooden cabins installed on lorries, were launched in what is being described as the most audacious Ukrainian offensive so far. Straight out of a movie scene, 117 drones reportedly struck air bases deep inside Russia. Ukraine claims it bombarded 41 Russian warplanes at 5 military bases, dubbed Spiderweb. The operation saw drones hit targets across a large swath of Russia, including in Belaya, which is closer to Japan than Ukraine, and at Olenia Base near Murmansk in the Arctic Circle. So what are these drones that Ukraine used to strike deep inside Russia? Which aircraft were damaged? When was the first time a drone was used in a battle zone? And we look at the use of drones in global warfare over the years. All this and more this week on WION Wideangle. On the 1st of June, Ukraine launched one of its largest drone-based operations against Russia to date. It struck at least 5 air bases in Russia's far east, 4,000 kilometers from Russia-Ukraine border. President Volodymyr Zelensky calls it Ukraine's longest-range strike to date. On X, Zelensky posted 1 year, 6 months and 9 days from the start of planning to effective execution, our most long-range operation. Our people involved in preparing the operation were withdrawn from Russian territory in time. Zelensky described it as a major strategic achievement and called it an absolutely brilliant result.
A brilliant operation was conducted on the enemy's territory, against military targets only, against equipment that was used to deliver strikes at Ukraine. Russia has had very tangible losses, and justifiably so, as they deserved it.
The coordinated attacks reportedly hit 41 aircraft in Russia, including nuclear-capable Tu-95 and Tu-22 strategic bombers and A-50 aircraft, which were used to bomb Ukrainian cities. The Tupolev Tu-95 was a 4-engine turboprop-powered strategic bomber and missile platform. The Tu-22 represented a serious threat to Ukraine. It was capable of reaching speeds of around 4,000 kilometers per hour. It could have been intercepted only by advanced systems like the US-made Patriot or the Italian-French air defense systems. The Beriev A-50 was an airborne early warning and control aircraft. The A-50 played a crucial role in Russia's war efforts in Ukraine, serving key functions. According to Ukraine's security service, SBU, Russia suffered a loss of around $7 billion in strategic aviation during the attacks.
Загалом в операції було використано 117 дронів.
117 drones were used in the operation, and respective number of drone pilots were involved. 34% of strategic carriers of cruise missiles on their home airfields were hit. Our people worked in different Russian regions in 3 time zones. Our people, on the eve of the operation, were extracted from the Russian territory. Now they are in safety.
Ukraine released images to show the drones used in the attack on strategic bomber aircraft at Russian air bases. The photographs show dozens of short-range quadcopter drones piled up in an industrial facility. Other images show the wooden sheds with their metal roofing panels removed and the drones sitting in the cavities. Take a look. If you are wondering how these sheds housing the drones attacked, let us explain. Reportedly, these sheds with the drones were loaded onto trucks that were driven near the Russian air bases. The roof panels of the sheds were then lifted off by a remotely activated mechanism, allowing the drones to fly out and hit the targets. The truck drivers have told Russian media that they were unaware of their cargo. The trucks, reportedly transporting prefabricated wooden cabins, were being driven into various regions of Russia. The drones were launched after the trucks were parked near military facilities. Kyiv residents congratulated Ukraine's military for a drone attack on Russian nuclear-capable long-range bombers.
I think the Ukrainian people is congratulating the security service of Ukraine for a successful operation. You made us happy. Thank you for that.
This event made us Ukrainians happy. I think it sends a certain message too.
The strike is a good thing. It means there will be less missiles flying towards Ukraine. That is what I think.
They inspire us as military men, because there is not much of good news, but such operations add to our high spirit, that not everything is lost yet, and that such an operation was planned and perpetrated by Ukrainians without Western help. This means we can really give it to them.
So what are these drones that Ukraine used to strike deep inside Russia? Let's find out. President Zelensky says as many as 117 drones were used in Ukraine's operation, with a corresponding number of drone operators involved. First-person view, or FPV drones, were reportedly smuggled into Russia. First-person view drones are small flying machines with cameras on the front. The camera sends live video to special goggles worn by the operator, who sees what the drone sees, like sitting in the drone's cockpit. This allows for precision targeting even through tight spaces or even over rough ground. These drones can be maneuvered remotely. These can also be used for filming and other non-defense purposes. Originally designed for drone racing and hobbies, FPV drones are increasingly being used in war. They are often fitted with explosives and flown straight into enemy targets, where they explode on impact.
FPV stands for first person view. So in other words, the operator of the drone sees what the drone is seeing through its own cameras and allows the operator to directly guide the drone onto the target. And these are normally controlled either via a radio link or via an optical fiber cable. And so what it allows is, an operator that may be distant geographically, particularly if it's using radio link, to actually directly control a drone and direct it against a target. And in the recent attacks against Russia's strategic bomber force, you saw the drones actually hovering over their targets, working out where to strike to cause the most damage. That's a classic example of the use of FPV drones.
According to the European Union Safety Agency, one major challenge is that the drone's movement through their surroundings cannot be seen by the drone operator. This can limit situational awareness and may lead to disorientation. What makes FPV drones useful in combat? The key advantages of these drones are that they are cost-effective and have deep strike capabilities while remaining largely undetected. A Reuters report estimated that the total cost of one such drone equipped with a payload can be as little as $500. Given the significantly higher average costs of more conventional artillery systems, they make attractive alternatives. Ukraine has turned FPV drones into powerful weapons in its fight against Russia. Soldiers use them to attack tanks, military vehicles, and even trenches, because they are flown by hand to the target. They are very accurate. Even beyond Ukraine and Russia, these drones are increasingly being used because they minimize the risk to human life. Technological developments have made them much cheaper over time, while maintaining and even improving on precision. Ukraine has been using FPVs against Russia for some time. Reportedly, more than two-thirds of the Russian tanks that Ukraine's military had destroyed in recent months were credited to FPV drones. Also, Ukrainian makers WION Drone officially handed over the first batch of 1,000 all-Ukrainian FPV drones in March this year. Ukraine is also on course to produce over 4 million drones this year. This is not the first time drones are being used in international conflict. Just last month, after India struck Pakistan's terror camps during Operation Sindoor, Pakistan attacked India with numerous Turkish drones, which the Indian defense system successfully thwarted. And in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, drones are no longer the alternative weapons. They have now become the mainstay of combat. Drone warfare is increasingly shaping 21st century conflicts. Drone warfare refers to a mode of warfare employing unmanned or remotely controlled devices. Such drones have the capability of staying in the air, on land, at sea level, or underwater. Unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs, commonly known as drones, can be operated without a human pilot on board. Let's now take a look at the drone wars that we have seen in the recent past. Over decades of war, the Indian and Pakistani militaries have deployed high-end fighter jets, conventional missiles, and artillery. However, the recently concluded conflict marked the first time New Delhi and Islamabad utilized unmanned aerial vehicles at scale against each other. On the 7th of May 2025, Operation Sindoor, India's response to the Pahalgam terror attack, began in the form of missile strikes on 9 locations housing terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan. The effectiveness of the missile attack was strengthened with loitering munitions with both surveillance and strike capabilities. Loitering munitions, also known as suicide drones, are unmanned aerial vehicles designed to hover over a target area and identify threats. Unlike traditional missiles, loitering munitions can wait for the optimal moment to strike, reducing the risk of collateral damage. Once they lock onto a target, they crash into it and explode. These weapons are often called suicide drones, kamikaze drones, or exploding drones. The integration of loitering munitions into India's military arsenal marked a significant shift in its counter-terrorism strategy. The use of precision loitering munitions aligns with India's stated objective of conducting a focused, measured, and non-escalatory operation. Israel has long been at the forefront of military drone use. In 1982, during the First Lebanon War, drones used by the Israel Defense Forces, or IDF, located missile sites. By 1989, Israel had developed its first attack drone, and in 2017, the Center for New American Security, a Washington-based think tank, estimated that 60% of international exports of military drones over the previous 3 decades had come from Israel. Israel has increasingly leveraged advanced technologies as part of its military strategy against militant groups. Israeli drones, such as the Hermes 900 and the Elbit Systems Skylark, have been pivotal in surveillance and targeted strikes. During conflicts, Israel has employed drones to carry out reconnaissance missions and airstrikes, effectively neutralizing threats from both Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. The ability to conduct operations from a distance reduces risks to personnel and increases operational efficiency. In October 2024, one of the biggest mass casualty strikes against Israel came not from Iranian ballistic missiles, nor the repeated barrages of rocket fire launched by Hamas and Hezbollah, but a single drone. An unmanned aerial vehicle laden with explosives evaded Israel's multi-layered air defense system and slammed into a military training camp deep inside Israel. It was an achievement for Hezbollah's drone fleet. Israel has a formidable arsenal of drones capable of carrying out spy missions and attacks. But Israel's enemies have caught Israel off guard on several occasions. In July 2024, a drone launched from Yemen traveled some 270 kilometers from Israel's southern tip, all the way to Tel Aviv, ramming into a downtown building and killing one person in the explosion. Here's one piece of drone footage that went viral in October 2024. Israel's defense forces released footage of what it called the last moments of Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar. The video appears to be shot from a drone which flies through the open window of a dilapidated house. The drone approaches a man who, according to IDF, was Yahya Sinwar, sitting motionless in an armchair that is littered with debris. Sinwar is then seen throwing an object at the drone, and the video ends. Drone warfare for military purposes began in earnest during the early 2000s. Its roots can be traced back to World War I, when primitive, remote-controlled planes were developed. The term drone was coined after the UK developed the Queen Bee, a biplane converted to be controlled by radio from the ground. In 1942, the US military developed the TDN-1, an early assault drone and the first to take off from an aircraft carrier, though it never saw combat. In 1944, Operation Aphrodite repurposed Boeing B-17s and B-24 Liberators for remote-controlled missions, marking the first use of unmanned aerial vehicles with cameras for first-person view flights. Despite 14 missions, the operation was deemed a failure. One mission tragically resulted in the death of Joseph P. Kennedy, former American President John F. Kennedy's elder brother. He died while piloting a drone aircraft over England. In the decades that followed, research and development of UAV technology developed rapidly. Even though the gadgets have advanced over time, their primary application, surveillance and acquisition of targets, has remained intact. Surveillance drones were used during the Vietnam War. However, the real shift occurred after the 9/11 attacks, when the United States began using drones for targeted strikes in Afghanistan.
Well, if we go way back to the 1960s, you had very large, expensive, military-produced unmanned aircraft that were used over Vietnam, in fact, to do reconnaissance. Since then, they've evolved in the sense that they've gotten a lot smaller, a lot cheaper, and they're a lot more prolific, and you can acquire drones, not just in terms of a military-built system, but in terms of commercial systems that you can acquire off the shelf, commercially. So what you're seeing in Ukraine, for example, is the Ukrainian military are just buying commercial drones from the internet.
Drone warfare has transformed military engagement, enabling nations to carry out operations with fewer troops on the ground. However, drones are not limited to warfare. They can also be used for malicious practices. Drones from Pakistan continue to be a major menace for India. In 2023, India's border security force shot down or recovered 100 Pakistani drones, attempting to smuggle arms, ammunition and narcotics into Indian territory. And in December 2024, Pakistan-based smugglers adopted low-cost drones to counter anti-drone technology along the Indo-Pak border with Punjab. These drones carried smaller quantities of drugs per sortie, minimizing losses for smugglers in case they are detected and destroyed by the border security force. This change indicates a shift from traditional smuggling methods.
Look, these sorts of things have been happening as well. You are seeing drones being used like this for narcotics smuggling, out of Central and South America, for example, with the drug cartels using these sorts of things. There's obviously terrorist use of drones to attack targets, to identify a target and then coordinate an attack. But it is certainly a prolific technology. It's one that's widely available, and there's no reason why non-state actors such as terrorist groups or narcotic smugglers, organized crime, can't use this sort of technology for their own nefarious ends.
While initially developed for military purposes, drone technology holds immense potential to address global challenges in healthcare, food security, and more. The COVID-19 pandemic augmented the adaptation of drones in delivering medicines and vaccines worldwide. Drone applications help by transporting medical supplies to remote areas and facilitating emergency responses. Drones offer a range of benefits to farmers in the agriculture sector. Drones enhance agriculture through land mapping, precision farming, agrochemical spraying, and crop assessment. Drones offer a bird's eye view and improve security by providing real-time surveillance. Drones are increasingly used in the media industry too. They provide unique aerial footage, especially in difficult or dangerous situations. As we have seen, drone technology can be used for society's betterment. But what's proliferating worldwide is its use in military settings. As the international military landscape continues to evolve, it's becoming increasingly clear that these unmanned systems are poised to dominate battlefields in the future.